Cortisol is such an interesting chemistry for more and more people because it drives energy. Too much cortisol over time drives inflammation and disease and depression and anxiety. And knowing that sweet spot of leveraging cortisol to get good things done, but not leaning on it all day, so you find yourself at the end of the day depleted and recovery is nowhere to be found. And over time, the diminishing returns of being a person who has really found themselves in the chemistry of overdoing and not enough recovery.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. I'm Dr. Greg Wells, and it is amazing to have you here as we begin to explore ideas around healthy, high performance, performing to our potential, getting healthy at the same time so that we can live a limitless life. And one of the big challenges that we're all faced with right now is that there's so much information. And so knowing what to do, knowing how to move forwards with regards to our health and wellness is so challenging. We're really, really lucky today to have Dr. James Rouse join us. I'm going to read his bio because it's epic. I want to make sure I get it right. Dr. James Rouse is a transformational force in the world of high performance, well-being, and leadership. As an international speaker, award-winning author, high performance coach, and dynamic entrepreneur, he is on a mission to inspire purpose-driven success to empower individuals to create vitality, balance, and fulfillment in all areas of their life. Dr. James has influenced countless lives, from Fortune 50 executives to everyday change makers, guiding them to unlock their full potential. His expertise is built on a foundation of real-world experience, from launching thriving businesses to coaching high-performance leaders who seek sustainable success from the inside out. He is a respected clinician, Emmy Award-winning media host and producer, and visionary entrepreneur. Dr. James is known for delivering actionable insights that ignite transformation. Whether speaking on stage, consulting with elite organizations, or mentoring individuals, his message is clear. The path to greatness starts within. And when you align purpose with daily practices, you create a life of deep meaning and unstoppable momentum. In our conversation today, we explore contrasts, peak performance and deep rest, hot and cold. And we talk about going inside in order to get clarity on what to do outside. I know you're going to love this conversation. I really did. Dr. James is one of the best people I've ever met, and I'm really, really excited to share this conversation with you today. All right, without any further delays, please enjoy my conversation with the incredible Dr. James Rouse. Hey everyone, we're joined by Dr. James Rouse. Welcome, buddy.
I'm so grateful to be here, Greg. Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah, I'm so excited to literally launch the new video podcast with you. So this is really, really exciting.
You know what I want you to know? I've known you for over a decade, and I'm really proud of you. I know what this takes.
Right on.
And it takes a lot of vulnerability and courage, particularly in a world that doesn't really welcome innovation and hope. So thank you for being that guy.
I appreciate you being here to support me on this journey. And why don't we just start with hope? It's obviously challenging in many different ways right now. And there's lots of information out there. And one of the things I want to do with this show is to help people navigate towards health, high performance, their human potential. That's obviously everything that you're all about, which is why it's so great to have you here. And I just love your thoughts about where things are at and what you're working on.
Well, I think the thing that I'm working on, probably much like you and anyone who's going to be listening and watching this podcast, I'm watching and looking for clues of good. And I think that is in and of itself an opportunity to say, whether I'm choosing to do all this biohacking stuff or I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I'm worthy of being hopeful about the quality of my life and the way I'd like to curate something more performance-oriented, it all starts with hope.
Right.
We have to believe that's within us to create and then get busy curating. And I don't mean busy like in a frenetic way, but a dedicated way in which you give yourself permission to move into the direction of what gives you hope.
What is hope?
I think hope, for me, and it's interesting, Greg, you know my story pretty well. I spent the first third of my life fairly unhopeful.
Right.
And I know what that was giving me. More of the things that I reinforced. I wasn't feeling worthy, I wasn't feeling alive, and I certainly wasn't feeling love of myself. And I think the things that have really helped me to feel hopeful and why I believe so much in hope today, it's an inclination of possibility that you can bring into your life. It's very much something that you are responsible to bring to life. Hope is beautifully subjective and deeply personal.
Isn't it interesting that hope is a responsibility and an opportunity to bring into your life? You can deliberately cultivate and craft hope and possibility in your life.
Which I think for a lot of people, that word responsibility, right, Greg? I mean, you and I've worked with a lot of different people, patients, clients. You work with companies all over the world. And when someone uses the R word, they're like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
Can I go and get hope someplace else? And where can I go and get hope? And when we go, oh no, this is on you.
Right.
And this is you looking at the practice of how you lead your life and asking those really difficult questions. If I was to lead my life in a way that inspired me and I had a plan and I had a protocol in a way that I knew I was executing, that was evidence-based, would that give me the catalyst that I need to step into hope? Because hope is beautiful and it's very much a thing where when you're in hope, what you're available to and the resource that you're available to is extraordinary.
Let's talk about evidence. Let's talk about the evidence for biohacking, but in the context of the responsibility we've been speaking about, because I struggle with the term biohacking because it seems like it's a shortcut, but it's not. It's consistency over an extended period of time doing evidence-based practices, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I'm with you. I also struggle with it. I don't struggle with it as much as long as there's something happening before the hacking.
Okay.
And before the hacking, we have to understand the responsibility that we're taking, that we're not giving our power away to a machine or a technology or whatever that thing is, that there's a level of intention beforehand and moving towards whatever that technology might be. But the ultimate technology is like, how does my self-worth connect with this? How is this performance I'm taking on as a responsibility connected to this? What am I willing to do to move in the direction of when I start to use these other tools, what I've already established as a foundation? And it's those two things together, which I think creates a phenomenal opportunity for performance, because I think you have a responsibility beforehand. I think we've all tried certain things. And I remember when I was doing endurance sports, like triathlons and stuff, and I was still not where I knew I wanted to be emotionally and spiritually, but everything was physical. And I was trying to outwork my self-loathing. And my performance struggled, but I'd be out there just logging miles and pushing myself under the influence of so much self-loathing. And I think that's a lot of what happens today. If we are not going into whatever hacking experience, every bio opportunity, that we haven't established first and foremost a level of self-love and self-reverence, that hacking isn't going to deliver what we hope it. It's not going to be the shortcut that's going to give us the true healing that has to come before the performance.
So it's like biohacking, but in fact what we need to be doing is mind, body, emotion hacking, but all together. And I love how yesterday when you were speaking, because we were at a conference here and you were presenting, you talked about your mindset prior to taking your supplements. So you're setting yourself up for what you're doing in a way that's not normally connected. Mm-hmm. You don't normally do mindful practices right before taking a supplement to make the supplement more effective. That was super cool.
I think what's fun about that, Greg, is that what I'm really interested in, when I turned 60, I did a real thoughtful analysis of my life. Humbling, sobering, and also kind of like, wow, hey, look at you. That's pretty awesome. Look at the things that you're interested in. Look at your marriage and look at your kids and, really getting granular about what you really want to look at and have that be the barometer of whether or not you are successful. It starts with family for me, always.
Wow.
And I look at those things, and I was reading an interesting study about how, I'll share the name. I won't pull up now. I'm dyslexic, so I'll say a study, but I think you even know, I forget who her name is, but she's the foremost researcher on goals. And she was talking about the state that we're in before we set an intention. So whether you're taking your supplements or getting ready to go for a walk or getting ready to get up in the morning and just get out there and do the best you can, getting yourself in a higher physiological state allows you to set a higher intention for what you'd love your life to be out picturing that day. Because what she's discovered is that unless we do that, we set goals that don't really get us excited or inspired, and they don't stretch us. We want to be stretched enough to realize this goal is worthy of our attention and our presence. If we're just kind of mailing it in on autopilot, that's not a goal that is worthy of your presence and intention.
So we need to think at the highest level, get excited about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also curious about what happens when you then begin to practice and what we wrap up that practice in to make that practice something that is positive and helpful for us. For example, let's say you're waking up to go for a run. You wake up, you're like, where are my shoes? You're like, oh my God, and you throw them on and you go outside and maybe you have your water, maybe you don't. You go for a run, you come back. Then the kids we got to get everyone organized. You race to work. You're starving and you're exhausted and super stressed because you're late. Like that's how most people try to implement a new exercise routine in there.
Right.
No wonder it doesn't work.
Right.
So how do we wrap these new practices in success, but not success in like achievement, success in process to make success inevitable? Curious about that.
My goodness. Well, I think that you and I would say, well, we look at Charles Duhigg and his research on habit formation.
Yeah.
And the linchpin habit is one of his coined phrases, which I love. Having your shoes next to your bed is what they call a cue or a linchpin habit, right? And the evidence is clear that if we're kind of getting used to this new idea of changing our life or doing something for ourselves, make it easy by having it something that you're going to see normally. Don't have it such a stretch for you. You're going, oh my gosh, where are my running shoes? And also, don't try to be like, oh my goodness, I'm also a dad, I'm also a husband, I'm also an entrepreneur, I'm also this. And in the midst of all of that, where are my shoes? Like, where are my shoes? I get all these other things. And I think this is where the heroic nature of self-awareness comes in.
Right.
I think what's hard these days, because there's so much amazing information. I mean, Greg, you're across the world teaching people every single week, every single day. You're somewhere going, this is how it works. People go, oh my gosh, I saw this guy, Greg. Dr. Wells told me this thing, and I've got 11 new things I'm going to do.
Right.
I hope that people find the one thing, and whether it's the cue of the shoes or whether it's the longer hug with your kids, all of these things are part of your well-being, and they can be a cue to have you get the next thing to come in. But I think it's the 11 things that get in the way, where the one thing will be the way.
Right.
The one thing.
Yeah, the one thing.
The one thing.
Effort, energy, attention, focus.
And really marinate in the fact that your self-efficacy, when I look at some of the research that I've used this my whole life, Greg, Albert Bandera, who created the whole world of self-efficacy, which is a fancy way of saying, I'm so present for the good that I'm doing, I can't forget how good I am.
Cool.
Well, oh my gosh, so there I am witnessing myself doing something good. And because the ventral striatum, which is where our dopamine and habit formation and motivation happen, that part of the brain goes, hey, you crushed that. What's the next cool thing you want to do? What's the next one thing you can do? And over time, we've put together this incredible protocol that is started by the one thing that you were self-efficacious in witnessing, which I think you and I, as busy dads and busy husbands and busy business people, it's hard sometimes to get people to really see that one thing is enough to get started, because there's so many things in the world right now that we think we should all be doing, and then we lose ourselves in that fragmented attention space.
All right, let's just take a little bit of a break. Let's breathe for a moment so that we can integrate all of this incredible science. And at this point, I'd love for you to share the episode with someone that you know. When you share this information, we all improve. We build a community together where we make the world a better place. So take a moment, pause, breathe, think through what we're learning, and share this with someone who could really benefit from learning this information. You've talked a lot about humans being versus humans doing. A practice to make that happen might be going from trying to do 11 things down to only doing one, but doing it at your true human potential.
Yeah.
That's a curious thought pattern for me.
I know, right? For someone who does, I think...
Too much.
So, I mean, when you and
pathological overachiever.
And I think that what's beautiful about you, you're an athlete. you're a world-class athlete. And when you give yourself permission to see how you can take that world-class physiology and put it into your work discipline, you're like, wow, this is interesting. A different type of limitation, a different type of humility. And I think what I've always loved about you is your honesty about when enough is enough and when I'm going to go ahead and like do something brand new. Why? Because I need a reservoir of peace. I need a reservoir of deeper presence. And that's heroic to do these days. And I think for times in my life where I've been extraordinary at doing, my being was suffering. Only every time. Every single time my being was suffering. And what I'm working on more and more these days, and yes, it's taken me 6 decades to figure this out, I really love the pace of my life when it's present. So much more than when it's frenetic or highly accomplished or people going, wow, look at all the things you do. No, I want to look at the way you be.
Right.
It's so much more important than look how you do.
Yeah.
And I'm working on that. And I can get the drug of dopamine going, and dirty dopamine is as lethal as it sounds.
Yeah.
And it gets us into this place where our ego starts saying we can do anything and everything. And I think, as you kind of launch this whole experience for your community, giving high achieving people an opportunity to not feel like it always has to be achievement, always. And what can an achievement look like if it was through a different lens of being versus doing?
Process over outcome.
Yeah. Presence over product.
When we make that shift, is there a difference in our physiology? What happens metabolically when we do this?
Well, you and I could geek out on the chemistry, so let's do that. Let's do that. I feel like the cortisol is such an interesting chemistry for more and more people because it drives energy, but too much cortisol over time drives inflammation and disease and depression and anxiety. And knowing that sweet spot of leveraging cortisol to get good things done, but not leaning on it all day, so you find yourself at the end of the day depleted and recovery is nowhere to be found. And over time, the diminishing returns of being a person who has really found themselves in the chemistry of overdoing and not enough recovery. And I was talking yesterday in my presentation about something called raw dogging, which it's not scientific. It's a great word. It makes you go like, what is that? But when you, Greg, like when people see you meditate, let's say that Adam, your son sees you meditating, and he also sees you in the cold water in the middle of December in Lake Ontario. And he's like, wow, my dad, having that sharp contrast of being that guy first thing in the morning out there and the whole lake is empty except for you, which is an interesting type of cortisol experience. And then the cortisol experience, it gets a chance to have a recalibration when you get home, you wrap up in a blanket and you sit still. It's this beautiful interval lifestyle that I'm really becoming much more fascinated by. High intensity interval training is very famous in our space, but how about high interval intention training, where I am going from something extraordinarily difficult to coming back to something that is equally difficult, but the contrast is absolutely vast.
Peak performance, deep rest.
Deep rest. Giving everything you've got and doing everything to let go.
How do we let go? What are some practices that people could install into their lives? We'll talk about peak performance in a moment. I know where I want to take that, but I'm curious about letting go, because I actually think that deep rest piece sets you up for high performance. When you're burned out, you can't go there.
Yeah.
So how do we let go? How do we deeply recover? What are some things we can do?
The things that, and you and I, it's so funny, Greg and I this morning, we both got up and saw each other. We're like, how much did you sleep last night? 8.5 hours. When did you go to bed? 8 o'clock. I mean, there's the beginning.
Right? Our 21-year-old selves would be disgusted with the situation.
We'd be like so lame. We'd be so lame in the eyes of our community. Yeah. And I think that's where it begins, is that there's this beautiful word that I learned about years and years ago. The word is Bushido, which is the samurai word for, samurai warriors have this word which basically means, this is my absolute code of conduct. This is the world that I live in, and nothing gets in that isn't going to make me proud, isn't going to help me to be at peace and perform at my best when I need to.
Right.
The Bushido is a lot of saying no. It's a lot of saying no to the things that could be equally interesting and stimulating, and oftentimes even more so. But like last night, you and I going, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and be in bed at 8 o'clock when this amazing thing is happening until 11, 12 o'clock at night. And it's all our friends, people that we love. But it's heroic to go, no, that's not what I'm going to do tonight. I'm actually going to be myself, and I'm going to wake up in the morning and have an unusual amount of presence and the kind of fulfillment. You wake up and go, I'm going to kick ass today.
Yeah.
Because you look at your aura score, you look at the pillow that you didn't move in 8 hours on. You're going, I know that my best version of myself is guaranteed today.
Yeah.
Because I laid down the foundation that started with a no.
Right.
And the no leads into things like, wow, once I wake up and say to myself, I'm going to blast off and grab a whole bunch of coffee because I didn't say no. You're actually using a breathing practice in lieu of a whole bunch of coffee. Yeah. And there's another no to stress, but yes to, oh my goodness, my regulation, my nervous system, my cortisol gets appropriate use right now versus trying to be pulled into a place just to get me up and get me going. And I think the thing that I'm learning more and more about, Greg, that I really love, and I think this is maybe a little bit off, but I want people to really hear that you and I know this. If you've been through trauma in your life, and a lot of us, and a lot of high performers have this in common.
Yeah.
Something is driving us that isn't healthy. And we can never do enough to earn our love or earn our health or earn our worthiness. Setting a tone for what I love to say is this beautiful vertical coherence. It starts in your heart. And really asking yourself, what gives you that sense of peace? And then have that be your primary practice. So if it's sleep, if it's heart rate variability, breath work, if it's cold water, don't do it as a performance experience. Do it as a peace performance measure first.
Wow.
Because peace always trumps performance.
Yes.
Every time. For us that have trauma and are working through our own healing experience, which is really about self-acceptance and really loving ourselves when we're not performing, that is a heroic effort these days. But the beautiful force multiplier that it becomes for your performance is absolute.
As you're describing that, I think of gymnast Simone Biles and that image that I showed yesterday.
Yeah. Wow. I started tearing up immediately because you know what that takes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it takes because I'm not Simone Biles and wow. But I think as anyone who's been up against something and the voices are coming in and just
right, but she's settling herself down for people who are listening. There's an image, and it's of Simone Biles, gymnast at the Olympic Games. In between events, she's sitting down, meditating. In between her events,
what that takes to be that heroic, to go inside to that degree when so much is going on around
20,000 people staring at you.
With all the chatter of what's going to happen past Olympics, where is she, who is she still have it, GOAT, all the stuff.
Yeah.
GOAT.
Trauma, use, all the things.
And how heroic it was for her to be that citadel in the storm.
The calm within the storm.
Man.
I want to think about peak performance now. We talked about cortisol. I'm super curious about mitochondria as the energy factories of our body. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it is having a renaissance, and thank goodness. Because I think a lot of people, again, performance-minded people are like, wow, man, I know it's the myokines, lifting weights, doing interval training, whatever the things. All those things are awesome.
Yeah.
But for me, what my greatest fascination is how mental health in its relationship to mitochondria. We know that metabolic activity and optimizing our metabolic activity is a huge part of our mental well-being. It's how we optimize our serotonin levels, how we really get good, clean dopamine, motivating, giving us confidence. So the more that we are metabolically aligned, because our mitochondria is well fed, you're going to have the amazing foundation of a mental and emotional state that allows you to do amazing things in the physical state.
What can we do to optimize our mitochondria? What are some practices that we can use to get our mitochondria healthy? They are the energy factories of our body. They take the foods that we eat, break it down to create energy. They're super important for They're involved in cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, depression. So given that they power our lives and they are implicated and involved in regulators to some degree of our health, plus autophagy is modulated by mitochondria, how can we optimize them?
Well, it's funny. So Greg and I are at this experience here doing a lot about human performance and potential. And there's avocados for breakfast. Right. And I know why there is, because you and I are like, Stu, we got to have a lot of fat on the buffet or we can't perform. So you mentioned food, Greg. Let's out of the gate talk about healthy fats and things that are the monounsaturated, the polyunsaturated, the essential fats. Start your day under the influence of wicked good fats because your mitochondria is going to go, I'm good to go.
Right.
When we lean into refined carbohydrates or too much caffeine or we're mainlining highly processed, our mitochondria is going to starve before it gets a chance to engage. And so it's so important that we use food as the foundation only after we woke up and really found ourselves going, man, my autophagy, my mitophagy is engaged because I had a good night's rest and I woke up under the influence of all the ways in which I was able to discard which was no longer good energy and bringing in a highly charged new energy. Mitochondria is a wonderful way of recycling or discarding when it no longer is useful. But your responsibility is make sure you're feeding it healthy fats, lean proteins, utilizing resistance training, and really, really understanding muscle is also associated with hope. We know that there's research that says when we're lifting weights and doing hard things physically, our body's releasing myokines. And myokines very much mimic how hope chemistry is happening mentally and emotionally. So you're getting like all these force multipliers going on, and the whole time your mitochondria is going, man, I'm a badass today. I am in a different place, and I'm here for it.
There are these molecules in our body called reactive oxygen species. They are produced when we're stressed. And I know they have an impact on mitochondrial function. They interact with the membranes, damage them. How can we heal, repair, recover, and regenerate from stress, given that stress produces reactive oxygen species and they damage our mitochondria? How do we heal from that?
Well, I think that you dropped a couple of big pearls there, reactive oxygen species, and how we look at antioxidants as a great way to help us recover and heal. So I always start with food, dark green leafies, blueberries. The more color, the better, because the deeper pigment in the food, the greater the opportunity for antioxidants to come and help those mitochondria heal. And I think alongside of this, I'm a supplement taker, I'm a supplement believer, as long as the evidence is there. So I look at things like acetyl L-carnitine, amazing for mitochondria. I like to say, how do you resuscitate your mitochondria?
Cool.
Acetyl L-carnitine's 1,500 milligrams is a really good place to begin. And people go, wow, that's a lot. But you know what? This is a high performance community that you're speaking to. Don't look at the ridiculous RDA. The ones that says this is just covering your bases, which I think is 250. Think about what it is you're asking your mitochondria to do, and don't be afraid to go to 1 gram, 1,500 milligrams. Alongside of that, coenzyme Q10, alpha-lipoic acid, and I look at those two between CoQ10, 100 to 200 milligrams. I love to combine it with PQQ, a supplement that a lot of biohacking communities going, oh my gosh. PQQ is a way in which it not only helps to resuscitate the mitochondria, it actually helps to bring it greater intelligence. And I think this intelligence is how it is that once you've got a good protocol under your belt, your mitochondria goes, oh, this is a different game I'm playing. I'm playing a different game. Yeah. And what I really believe, and Greg, I really want to lean into your research on this, the mitochondria is very trainable.
Yes.
It wants to be better if you want to be better. And if you trust it and you feed it and you believe in it, you are instructing it to go for other levels of almost rare air experiences of energy and performance.
Talked about mitophagy and I say autophagy, but autophagy, mitophagy. I'm curious about that. Sorry, I'm tongue twisting.
No, you're not. And I think what I'm doing is the same thing, like my mitophagy. Yeah. Well, my mitophagy or autophagy is basically the way that, listen, high performers, we get a lot of debris in our body.
Right.
A lot of debris. Just from working hard and being at your best and giving everything you have to your life. With that, there's gonna be byproduct, waste. And our opportunity to look and see that waste effectively, physiologically, and then remove it.
Yeah.
And what we know, exercise helps to do that. But we're not kicking ass every single day, day after day after day after that. Look at the way that you can really utilize different types of exercise to really kind of re-instruct how your muscles are being used, which also augments autophagy. Look at sleep, look at cold water. And please help me, I believe there's really good data that speaks to cold water and these cold shock proteins.
Yeah.
And how they actually help with autophagy. And then we also have sauna, which is also going to be the heat shock proteins. That interval experience, that contrast, hot and cold, is amazing for mitophagy. And anytime that we're giving ourselves contrast like that, it really helps to move the debris. It's like the garbage truck comes in and goes, I got this, I'm scooping up this, moves out of the way. So the efficiency of your mitochondria coming back to life or bringing new mitochondria in is assured, and there's space for it to do its work.
I feel like the theme of this conversation is about contrast, like high performance, deep rest, hot, cold. Like it's really, really curious how.
And we didn't even start that way,
that.
but how interesting is that?
Yeah.
And it's hard for us to rest. It's hard for us to think there's not always something else we could be doing, and the first thing we think about is doing nothing.
Right. So often we live our lives in that 35 to 80% of our potential zone, thinking that that is what we're capable of. But what we're talking about is getting up into the 100% zone and then down into the 10% zone. Peak performance, deep rest, peak performance, deep rest. And there's so much information out there about how to do that, and biohacking and all the democratization of information is amazing. Although, of course, there's also misinformation that accompanies that. So how do we navigate that and find the best evidence for excellence? What are you seeing as some of the coolest, best evidences for how we can achieve excellence?
I love that word, democratization of information. It's everywhere. I always say the democracy of the day. You've got 24 hours.
Right.
And we all do. But being very, very mindful of which data supports you.
Right.
And I think that that's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me sometimes. I see all the amazing things that people are doing. I'm like, oh, I should be doing that. Should I change this? So-and-so said that. And then I start finding myself more and more distant from what my truth is. Having worked with a lot of amazing people, and I look at you as one of those amazing people, Greg, you and I know this to the core of our being. How do we find what really is our own sacred sauce, our sacred sauce? The thing that you go, this information is aligned with who I am. This is my truth. Not all these things that say you can do all these other things and you're going, well, that's not really what I'm looking for, even though it sounds really cool. Are you heroic enough just to look and going, this is who I am as a person. These are the things I would love to be better at. This is the trauma I'm healing. And this is the vision of who I'd love to become. Start there. And then only put in what aligns with your truth.
Right.
You're going to find there's only probably a handful of things.
Yeah.
And when I'm learning, I've got like 3 or 4 things that are absolutes for me. And I leave a couple things that are going to be new and I'll be learning about, hopefully, if they seem to be aligned. But man, there was a time in my life I had 37 things I thought I should be doing.
Right.
And I always disappointed myself. I never got them done. And I was like, oh, you're not supposed to get 37 things done. Why don't you get one thing done?
Yeah.
And then maybe 2 things will happen. And maybe that 3rd thing comes in eventually. But for goodness sakes, let go of trying to do everything and be everything.
What's one thing to do in the morning?
The first thing I do every morning is I do prayer, I chant. I know, chanting is a little weird. But there's a lot of vagal tone information on that. Beautiful vagal tone and opportunities to get your vagus nerve engaged through chanting or humming or singing or praying. So I breathe, I chant, and I pray out loud. That's the first 3 things I do.
Okay.
And people are like, well, what about the cold plunge? What about the lifting weights? That comes after.
Okay.
But until I have heart coherence,
Right.
I have nothing.
So you don't grab your phone first thing and check your
No, thank God. And I know that's a hard one, right?
Yeah.
Human doing is right next to you, usually within arm's reach.
Yeah.
But if you have it at least a couple more feet away,
Yeah.
you're going to go, oh, wait a second. I can go here.
Right.
I can't go there because I can't actually reach it. but I can reach here really easily.
Yeah.
Start here and watch the heart coherence happen. Watch the oxytocin levels rise. Watch the self-compassion arise. And I think for a lot of people who are driven by excellence, and you know we're talking this morning about evidence-based excellence, don't discount how much good information isn't about these peak experiences that are aligned with kicking your own ass physically, or having all these gizmos and technologies from a hacking side of things. But what about the pharmacy that you have inside of you and getting spiritually connected to that pharmacy by doing simple things that are innate, that are how you came into this world, that you can take full advantage of all day, every day, and don't be surprised how you go. Man, when I wasn't reaching outside of myself for the thing I thought I needed to do, but I started within myself, everything I needed was there.
So we're looking, often in our world, we have our phones and all of the information, we're looking outside. But you're advocating that we actually look inside, and you start with the inside.
Yeah.
And then you can move into your day in the best possible way.
I think so. I think
That's
what
radical. That's like a revolution. It's craziness.
It's almost
what are you talking about?
It's almost heresy.
Yeah.
It's pushing up against heresy.
People deleting this podcast.
Right. Look, I will never watch that again. I don't want to go inside.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, is it? To start inside. And I think that's really why I love what you do in the world, because you are a world-class scientist who has this covert spiritual mission. I know you do. And I love that about
It's
you.
a spiritual mission wrapped up in a whole bunch of like physiology.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
But the essence of who you are is helping people to really, really fall in love with themselves as the ultimate force multiplier. And then bring all the other awesomeness that comes in science. And then you put those two worlds together, the nexus point being a life really well lived.
So you're using yourself as a laboratory, testing what works for you, thinking about your mindset, your health set, your soul set, and then building practices that enable you to cultivate that against the lighting of practicing love of yourself and the people who matter to you.
Yeah, because oxytocin, if you start with oxytocin, we talk a lot about how do you kind of help mitigate inflammation and how do you help to heal the body, how do you help to heal your mind.
Yeah.
Oxytocin is one of the most wonderful, love-based anti-inflammatories. So when you start inside and you're building self-compassion and self-acceptance and self-love, it is allowing the foundation, the playing field, for you to be playing at physiologically and performing at your best. It is almost like done.
Yeah.
You have a foundation that is unshakable, literally unshakable.
Right. How do we close out our day? As we close out this interview, how do we close out our day? Create the beautiful bookends for our days.
Can I take you through my clothes?
Let's do it.
Well, you've been at my house. You know my clothes. So you don't know my clothes. Here's my clothes. 4 o'clock, I'm done every afternoon.
Wow.
Yep. It's religious.
Okay.
4 o'clock, I am done. The computer shut down. The phone is put away. And for the next 4 hours, I am working on landing. So between 4 and 5, it's a combination of a brief cold plunge, not a long one, because I don't want to get stimulated, but it's a way I kind of shake off the day. Okay. I move from that into red light, from there into sauna. And then from there, I go into a prayer practice, which is finished at the top of the hour with something called self-recognition. Self-recognition is absolutely my favorite practice. It's different than gratitude.
Yeah.
It actually has me mindfully looking back at the day and saying, man, you did this so well, good for you.
Right.
Listing all the things that I did well. So self-efficacy is what I'm ending my day under the influence of.
Right.
I'm enough. I did so many incredible things. I'm really proud of myself.
Right.
That's my first hour. Second hour is right into food preparation. Right. I try to be done with food by 5:30 because I really want to have at least 12 to 14 hours before I eat again. Yeah. And I also find that if I'm eating at 6:30 or 7, I don't sleep as well.
Right.
So I'm trying to be done by 5:30. Always just a combination of really cool, lean proteins, just enough veggies, not too much fiber. Yeah. And the right complex carbohydrates and more of a starchy experience so I can get enough tryptophan to help my brain go, exhale. Right? Get that manufacturing of serotonin to move into melatonin, which takes a combination of lean proteins and good complex carbs. So that's my 5 to 6 window. 6 to 7, and this is going to be thinking, go, whoa, wait a second, you can't do that. My wife and I watch Jeopardy.
Amazing.
It's ritual for us.
So cool.
But we put on our dark glasses.
Yeah.
We're a couple of nerds. We get our dark glasses on. We're taking Jeopardy in. It's good for our brain. It's great to see whether or not we can buzz in before the people buzz in.
Yeah.
And it's good brain work, and it's really kind of fun too. 6:30, that's over. We take a second walk with our dogs. 20 to 30 minutes, slow. This is not interval walking.
Right.
This is slow. Dogs are peeing. Dogs are smelling stuff. We're just moving slow. 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock is meditation, yoga nidra. In particular, yoga nidra to help with the sleep. I read 1 or 2 pages of Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, and I'm usually lights out by 7:45, 8 o'clock. That's my 4 hours of finishing my day.
I absolutely love it. And I love that you finished with like self-recognition. I'm just going to stop here and recognize that sounds magical. I've still got 2 kids and I'm a limo driver currently in my life. So I look forward. I'm going to miss them a lot, but when they do, I'm going to definitely be able to do a little bit more of that. But you know what's really curious is when you have routines and rituals that help you to calm down, it helps the family to calm down, it helps Adam to get to bed, it helps Ingrid to decompress, it helps Judith to settle in. Like I joke that we're busy, we are busy, but we do a lot of this. So I just want to recognize you, Dr. James Rouse, for the incredible work that you do in the world, the massive positive influence that you have had on my life, the life of my family and my children. I'm deeply grateful for all of this, and I cannot wait to continue to do great things with you in the world. Thank you so much for spending your time here with us today.
It's an honor. I love you. I love you so much.
Love you too,
Thank
buddy.
you for having me.
This has been great.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed that. If this conversation with Dr. Rouse was helpful for you, if you thought of somebody who could benefit from this conversation, I'd love you to share it with them. Because when we share this information, this science-based, evidence-based information with the people in our world, people that we care about, it elevates them, and that just makes the world a better place. And by extension, through karma, we'll get better too. We really, really need to be thinking about our health and well-being. We really can benefit from all of that evidence-based information that Dr. James Rouse was able to share with us. And so thank you so much for taking your time to be here today, to commit to you living better, you getting better, so that you can do the greatest things in the world and ultimately reach your potential. So thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. Share this with someone that you love, someone that could benefit from it, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, everyone, hope you enjoyed that session. This is a little note from the lawyers. This podcast and video contains advice and information relating to health and wellness and is presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes. We've made enormous efforts to make sure that the information is accurate and that what we've contained in this episode is based on science and research. However, it should still only be used as a supplement rather than to replace the advice of your doctor or other qualified healthcare professional. If you know or suspect that you have a health problem, it's recommended that you seek your qualified healthcare professional's advice before embarking on any program, treatment, or protocol. All right, thanks for listening in. Really appreciate you. We'll see you in the next video, session, or podcast.